We both consider ourselves as horse nations, right? The difference is that we have 5 horses depicted in every page of our passport, but in Kazakhstan, everybody has a horse at home, I say,
Yes.
but that horse is in the fridge.
That's true.
The easiest one is somebody who is successful and enjoys the work. Like marathon runners, they always want to run a little bit better, right? The Iron Man, they want to be even more iron. So learning on the top of this ecological pyramid of learning is very easy. It's instinctive. This is called the flow.
I have a book of Shandor Petefi
Yes.
in my personal library.
And in Budapest, we have an avenue called Astana Avenue, and on that is the statue of Abai, your great national poet and musician. I think AI will be able to give them guidelines, first steps, quick things, and it will be easier than to search now on Google Docs or on Google PDF. What are the words? Yes.
So you don't believe in horoscope?
I don't believe in horoscope. It is not reliable. It cannot predict me. Only when things go well, then I say, oh, you see, it was in the horoscope. But flow is something which is measurable, which can be predicted. By the way, the strongest skill of Kazakhs is quick decision-making compared to other nations. And this is so true.
By the way, which month you've born?
I'm Gemini.
We have to learn about your horoscope and then
Analysis.
this analysis. You're saying that genius can come from anywhere. You can develop and open their potential. You should see the potential of people and
Yes.
Discover them
Yes.
instead of changing
Yes,
them.
this person doesn't get the money because he works only with the people who the match has. This person gets the money to be a leader of everybody.
Welcome to the episode of QI podcast. I'm your host Elnura Abakan. I'm honored to introduce our guest Zoltan Buzadi. Zoltan, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you for your invitation. I greet all the viewers. Salamat Zizber.
How is your feeling in this winter time? It's December.
Well, I have been to Kazakhstan very often by now, even in colder periods. And I don't come here because of the weather. I come here actually to do work and to develop business people, academic people, and the society. So that gives me warmth and prospect inside.
Can you tell us about your background and what led you to focus on leadership and education?
Okay, just briefly in a nutshell, I am a diaspora Hungarian. I grew up in the Western world, and when it became possible to live again in Hungary, that's when I started my professional life. I'm an educator. I developed business people with MBA programs and Harvard-style case studies on the topic of strategy and leading. Second episode is I met a very famous Hungarian-American professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the founder of Flow and Positive Psychology, and a company which made a very interesting technology game with this theory. Third episode is that I came accidentally to your region, Kazakhstan, to recruit students to study in Budapest, and I felt that there is great challenge for me. So I've been here very often now, and I'm teaching, of course, internationally. At home, I have my research topic, but I feel that I am contributing to others' success, and also I find my joy in that.
Great to hear that. What personal experiences shaped your passion for developing leaders and working with academic institutions?
Yes. So I grew up in Germany. In that culture, preciseness, planning is very important. To say the word, we have a problem, is a big catastrophe. And when I started learning about leadership, I discovered that it's not a precise area. It's very difficult. What is good for one person is not interesting for the other person. What is good in one strategic dimension is not good maybe for the profit and not good for the team atmosphere. So finding the balance, like the Rubik Cube, you have to twist around, that was a great revelation. And the Harvard-style case method of having a case situation in which there's debate and then the digital way of teaching this debating was my great revelation. Now, I think that people who are above 30 or older and come to my leadership training, they really suffer from not hearing often enough what their strengths are. They pretend to be strong, they have to fight hard, and they think when they earn a lot of money, then they will believe themselves that they are good. So part of the revelation is that giving persons feedback about what they're good at is actually a very, very joyful activity of mine.
That's very interesting. That is true that a lot of, especially young generation, they are eager to learn these key skills like stress resistance or the adaptability. Now I would like to ask you about education and leadership in a more focused way. So how do you define effective leadership in the context of education and academia? Because as you see, Kazakhstan is developing internationalization of the education, and also a lot of international institutions are coming to Kazakhstan, opening their branches, and also our people, Kazakh people, those who are born in here in Kazakhstan, they are working abroad in educational institutions. We have a lot of bright minds and professors, academicians who are not in Kazakhstan. Could you please expand more on that?
So 3 ideas around this. The first one is accidentally your education minister, higher education, Sayasat Nurbek, was my colleague many years ago when I started to teach here. And his new idea to diversify the energies from one institution to several regional universities to have partners, I think it's a great idea. Actually, to establish Kazakhstan, the central of Asia, here Central Asia, as a hub for people to study here, even for institutions from abroad who would come here, would not be able to go into that country, is brilliant. But I think what is needed for that is the strengthening of the local universities, not the finances, not the buildings per se, but actually the people who run these corporations. I was about to suggest to him that there should be a club of those universities which are working on this internationalization together. So that's about educational leadership, right?
Wow.
They need leadership strengthening and networking between each other so that they are better representing your nation's or your country's interest vis-a-vis the different international partners from all over the world. The second topic you mentioned is what about people who study abroad, your nationals? We have that as well. We used to have that they left the country, but nowadays I think increasingly it becomes very important that people who go abroad, study abroad, that they start to realize that they are very often technocrats abroad. They don't have roots there. They don't have any connections. So therefore, awareness of what are the values, what are the traditions, the modern traditions of being Kazakh, of any country, in my case Hungary, helps the people who go abroad with the Bolashak program to come back. The third idea I want to bring in is we have a Hungarian Bolashak program, which is called Stipendium Hungaricum. We invite many people from new countries where we want to have business connection with. They study masters, bachelors, and even PhD in Hungary, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And then they come back, hopefully, to Kazakhstan, but also other countries, and they're ambassadors of our nation as well. So this is the level 3 which Kazakhstan will need to attract more and more students actually to study here also on Kazakh scholarships. I think the first project is related to that.
Very interesting, especially the idea on club of universities, because you see a lot of, especially international universities, they are like competitors, not only in Kazakh educational market, but overall world globally. So if they kind of rejoin their capacity here in Kazakhstan, that's going to be very interesting combination and symbiosis of educational institutions, and that is, I think, great idea why we should not work together, right?
Yes, what I think is that these institutions you work with, they are actually profit organizations usually. So they want to make an investment and then they want to have a return on this, right? So that makes sense. But as soon as the corporationship in maybe 3 years' time, maybe in 6 years' time doesn't work well, they will retrieve. So your nation's investment in this corporation is there. You need to have a second strategy. How can we take the knowledge of working with an institutional partner internationally to become our own knowledge so that next time it will grow? Actually, most countries do only trade with each other if there is a profit, right? Otherwise, there would no be trade existing. And in the whole world, I would say that there's only one country which is truly interested in your nation. It's my country, Hungary, because we're always interested where we're from, about the roots. So us, it's not just the profitability of the business venture. It's something like finding out our old identity from where we came from.
Yes, I agree that education is such a great bridge. It's like great diplomacy tool, and it's not only tool, but it's also the real perspective about cooperation and collaboration. I would like to ask you about the role of educational institutions. Currently, educational institutions are such a great power. What do you think? What role do universities play in shaping future leaders, and particularly in a rapidly changing world?
Yes. International institutions like universities, they have strong advantages, but also some deficit I would like to mention to you. An institution usually has a funding, they have an infrastructure. So this we call financial capital. This they can mobilize, they can say we put aside a budget and we launch this. Second, they have routines in knowledge management. This we call human capital. They can bring here their curricula and their routines. Third, they can also bring in some opportunities to network. This we call social capital, to go maybe to some conferences together or publish something together. But if you think of any institution from abroad and they come once to a distant location like Aktöbe, okay? It was interesting once. Twice in the cold weather, which was the question you asked me, maybe. Third time, the individuals very often tend to lose their own initiative and interest. So the fourth capital, which is in individuals, it's called psychological capital. Psychological capital is the energy that you want to do something, and this institutions cannot bring in. They can only provide the minimum basis for it. So flow, individual learning, individual energies is in the faculties. So what you should look for is who are those persons who are genuinely interested in being here, teaching in this program. Because the first time, of course, it's interesting. Second time, of course, it's interesting. But the third time, it becomes actually not so motivating. So therefore, financial capital, human capital, and social capital are not enough. You need this search for this inner drive, which is the fourth type of capital, psychological capital. That's the essence of good leadership.
What advice would you, personally give to educators in Kazakhstan? Because we have a lot of young educators who are opening their schools, and one of our future podcasts will be with one of creators, founders of such private or private and public partnership schools. They are young leaders, and
Exactly.
as soon as they promote education and they open schools and so on, so they want to integrate leadership development into their programs.
Yes.
And I know that some of them they would like to bring economy or the financial literacy from first grade, from even beginner schools. So what is your advice?
Okay. I'm not expert in what schools should be teaching. I'm more like an adult educator. But if I am asked about what advice is from me to school owners or school directors, it is that they have the challenge of the legal regulation, they have the challenge of the curriculum and the operational activities. But what is also really a challenge is the business plan, the business idea. And then they can learn a lot about managing the team. What we do in my leadership training is we speak of different personality types. The problem is that educators whom they deal with are very often helping professions or very purists, very exact sciences. But you need also people in an organization who are a bit more pushy, who are more innovative and have ideas. So managing a team, a colorful team, like in a company, in a school, would be what I would recommend to develop. So learn as a school director from businesses, from global companies, how they manage a pool of different personalities as their team.
Very good, very interesting.
There will be more and more private schools in your country. I see them everywhere. There is competition. They will suffer after a while, right? They will think, why is one school more innovative, better in catching the funds? And then they will come.
Yeah, and for me, for instance, personally, the person who is always in education and always like in lifelong learning, it is important to have the quality. And I really believe that these, especially private schools, they're having a good quality because it's first of all about their reputation, their image, but also it's about those kids and young generation who are going to compete in a global market of education, right? What projects or collaborations have you been involved with universities in Kazakhstan? Maybe also then we can also switch to corporate world after that.
It's a portfolio, actually. And it's not just education, it's also research, publications, PhD supervision I have done. So one of the activities I regularly do is that there are MBA programs in bigger business schools or smaller franchise business schools who have a program for people who work and they want to learn leadership. So this I do often. Very often these participants then say, Zoltan, your training was super cool, can you come to us? Sometimes big companies like your railway company or gas company, sometimes more innovative like financial centers, international funds. Sometimes I am asked, can you be a PhD supervisor of somebody? And Anastasia Lipovka was my first PhD in Kazakhstan. She's the first person to have completed the PhD in business administration. I'm very proud of this in Almaty, in Almaty. Now we are researching. We won an NCSTE research grant for postdoc, Jas Khalim, so young researcher, young scientist, and we research the skills of women in your country compared to international benchmarks. My PhD student in Budapest, Gafar Tureva from Uzbekistan, she's comparing the Turkic nations countries' skills, Hungary, Turkey, and Kazakhstan. So I actually produce academic journal articles, puts your country onto the global map. But I'm also now involved with Ultik Ustaz, a movement which sounds really good, the wise man or the master of the nation. And these colleagues are having a school of rectors, and I contribute. I like being here. I'm a good educator, and they give the platform for that. So my hope is that we will extend this activity of this flow and the leadership training also to other universities, which you mentioned, this internationalization project, because I'm good at that, and I enjoy doing that, and I can give value for the participants.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Currently, you said about the educational institutions and so on, and it's like I understand that it's universities. But do you work personally with professors? Not like about linking to the exact university, but maybe joint projects, articles, research, and also maybe do you work with institutions, not like educational institutions, but research institutions?
So first of all, I work with our own institution. I'm full-time professor on the research track in Corvinus University, which is really a great international university located in Budapest. Secondary, with the Hungarian-American professor Mihai Csíkszentmihalyi, we founded a research network, a global research network, discovering how flow and leadership are actually going hand in hand. So that's my own initiative, and I have partners in that, and this is my mission. Secondary, here in Kazakhstan, I'm being invited to work for national research grants. For example, now a university asked me, because of the high publications that I have, to be part of this project. I mentioned to you the Jas Khalim project, and I am actually sometimes invited, like it was in KeyMap, to do faculty development. So sometimes universities say, can you teach us, our pedagogists, to be different and better? And then we focus only on having this training internally for the teachers. But there is an opportunity for that. It's called CEMEN. It's an international association of business schools and management educators. And it is a possibility also to learn pedagogy and networking for other universities through that network. I recommend because I'm board member there.
So that is such a great opportunity for universities that they have a board member like you. And what is your impression of the country's higher education?
My opinion is that over the years, now 11 years, I see big dynamism, changes. I do know many regional universities where the rector is totally young and new, much younger than I am, and very often actually a lady, which is a great thing. The other change I would like to see is that I would see more men working in universities as educators in the business field. So usually, I can say this maybe a little bit entertaining, that I usually saw two types of men in universities. Either it's the rector or the security people. What does it mean? That after socialism collapsed, it was economically so unattractive for men to stay in education, right? Some of them in certain fields, engineering, medical, I can imagine, but I now speak of what I know, management, business education. And this needs to change. You need to have, I think, far more people doing international research, just doing this academic work I have to do in order to be at a ranked university. And very few universities do this. Mostly, if they're dynamic, in Almaty, even here in Astana, they think of, doing corporate trainings. But then the faculty is not the same. You need a researcher faculty for that. So there, I think this will be improving and this will change.
You are saying that we need more work on academic and research sphere in the
I
education.
personally, luckily, I'm doing great research. I don't consider myself in flow when I do this hard work of researching. I'm in flow when I educate and develop people. But universities only exist when they do produce new papers, which are very often very boring, absolutely irrelevant. But the world is like this. Universities are internationally recognized and ranked only if they publish. Otherwise, they will be called business schools. And business schools can do a lot of training. They also do some research. But to have standing in the eyes of your partners, it is not reputable to fly here from any international great university and then see that there are faculty members who don't even have an office, they don't sit together, and they are not doing any research work, which from a business perspective is not very relevant. Well, then the partners will think that they are not actually dealing with equal partners here.
That is a big challenge, I think. You said that you are in a board of directors, you are in a board. And do you think that this Kazakh educational system, especially this higher educational system, they are evolving in enough way in terms of internationalization?
Of course,
and if they align with global standards?
Of course. I mean, this change that you have now two separated ministries for basic education, primary, and then the second is a huge thing. Really, it can focus all the administration on what is there, needs to be done. And I think these changes take really long time, right? It's like developing almost a railway system of a nation, developing the energy system of a nation. This is not 3 years, this is 6-10 years project. And I think every hard work needs to be given the benefit that this is the better direction. I certainly think it's better to diversify the funds and the energy into many regional universities than to have one big stellar thing and then that everybody wants to be there. That didn't work so well, I think. So this is very good. And, you have this Kazakh saying, "Areket bar, jede bereke bar." Where there's work, then there will be fruits. But if you don't work, then the fruits cannot come. And if you don't wait, then the fruits will not come either. So, areket bar, you do the hard work, there is, and then fruits will come.
Yes, that's true. And thank you for knowing our Kazakh proverbs and so on. That's true that the Ministry of Science and Higher Education is doing such a great work. They're yes, they're doing hard work. I think that realization of reforms is quite challenging, and any change can have resistance, and also it brings new challenges.
Yes.
And we need to educate people, re-educate, adapt them for
Yes.
current trends, and so on. So, yes.
My view on this is very strong. The idea of finding meaning in hard work, which in slang is called the flow, patok, is actually the balance between the abilities you have on the one hand, and the other hand, the opportunities to use the skills. So if this balance is not correct, if the challenge is too difficult, the changes, the reforms come too fast, natural feeling is fear or worry, trevoga, okay? So people show resistance when they think, I can't do this. This is where leadership development is important, to explain what skills you do have for being able to do that. I mentioned to you at the beginning of the interview, young people still are hungry for finding out what they can do. And this is great for pedagogists, university people as well. They think that the talented people are in the companies, they have been taken away because of the funding. No, everybody has skills. Speaking more about the skills and understanding what skills you have will help the reforms to become successful and reduce the anxiety. Some other people who have skills, they feel boredom, skuka in Russian, when there is nothing to do. So that's the other extreme. In this case, when you know about your skills, you should then be asked, how can you use your skills in the work in the university environment to get back into this balance?
Yes, I agree with you. We are in an international world. As soon as we are in a global market of education, I think we all learn from each other. Like Kazakhstan learns from Hungary, Hungary learns from Kazakhstan, or any other countries, they do exchange. Yes. What lessons different countries, could learn from our educational systems?
Yes. Let me speak now as a proud Hungarian for this. Maybe it gives some color in the general debate. So, as I told you, most Hungarians have this notion that we are somehow related to the Central Asian region for several historic events. Very old, maybe 2,000 years ago, and then a few hundred years ago when Kuns, whom you call Kipchaks, arrived in the region. So for us, it's a new discovery also for business. Our government is part of the Turkic Nations Organization as an observer.
Turkpa.
Yes. We are now part of and there were new investments signed, and we actually want to do also commerce and more business, not just the old Kurultai meetings and the Kipchaks and this. And for Kazakhstan, it's the other way around. I think it is very amazing. Each time I get into a taxi and I say, "Yeah, it's Vengri, I'm from Hungary," then the people start to hit my head and say, "Yeah, you are Kipchak," and I say, "Yes, yes, yes." So the older generation knows about this relationship. The young generations don't. I ask them how to say Hungary in Kazakh, and they keep on saying Vengria. I said, "Niet, this is Russian," and they don't know this anymore. It's Majarstan. Exactly. So you're not a Shala Kazakh. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what I want to say is, in this globalization world, for young people, you studied abroad, you go to New York, you go to Australia, and so on. It is actually very important also to remember who are the other nations which are closer to us. And for most of you, it is Kyrgyz, it is Turkic, but also then in Europe where you are. So for this reason, there is this funny saying that the most eastern part of Hungary is somewhere in Rider or in Ust-Kamenogorsk or Canton Karagay, and the most western part of Kazakhstan is somewhere in Hungary, maybe Budapest or even further to the Austrian border. We want to say that that there was this connection conceptually, genetically, probably, and culturally, and this is important in the globalized world.
There is no borders. All the borders are they say, in our minds.
Yes.
And actually, for cooperation and collaboration, we need to just have a will.
And Elnura, you know, there are similarities and differences between the two countries. Just briefly, we both consider ourselves as horse nations, right? We have also this mentality that the horses were so important in the culture, like here in Kazakhstan. The difference is that we have 5 horses depicted in every page of our passport, but in Kazakhstan, in big cities, Almaty, Astana, even in a panel, everybody has a horse at home, I say,
Yes.
but that horse is in the fridge.
That's true. I studied abroad, and a lot of people, they were like a bit shocked. The fact about Hungary, by the way, last year I was also participating in the exhibition and opening and actually presentation of the book of Shandor Petofi in Kazakh language.
Yes.
It is translated by our famous Kazakh author, Kadir Murzali. He translated Shandor Petofi's beautiful poems into Kazakh language, and I have a book of Shandor Petofi
Yes.
in my personal library.
Yes. Here there is the street Ulica Shandor Petofi with the
Yes.
statue. The closest street from Astana airport in Astana, actually, if you would walk across the fields, is Ulica Budapest also. And in Budapest we have an avenue called Astana Avenue, and on that is the statue of Abay, your great national poet and musician.
I have never visited Budapest. Now I would like to talk about globalization and leadership development. As soon you are not only in education sphere, right? You are in a corporate world, and I understand that. And I was participating in one of courses which is dedicated to flow, and it would know more on that. So leadership development has been a core focus of your work. So could you share how gamification and experimental learning enhance this process?
Right. So good leadership, I think, is value-driven. You want to find out for yourself why I'm investing energy and time in myself to do the work every day, or the other way around, why do we pay people to be leaders? What should they create? Is it only the business profit? No, of course not. It's not enough. Any company which is just profitable will not be sustained. Society will throw it out. People will not want to work in a company there. Therefore, different leadership theories exist, and together with Professor Csikszentmihalyi, we developed the flow promoting or the flow enabling leadership style. And then we told this professor that people don't read the books anymore. He said, they don't read books? What do? We told them, they play games, video games. So what is that? And he developed with his company a simulation game where you manage a company in which you have to learn the principles of flow, enjoying the hard work, discovering the skills of your employees, think about sustainability and team spirit and profitability and the individuals. So it's a complex simulation video game. And at the end of this training, we then produce data, hardcore data about your personalities, psychometric system, whilst you are not thinking that you're showing yourself. And then you discover your strengths, and then the final stage is that based on your skills, you find your own flow in being at the workplace by knowing what you're good at.
Great. So how have these tools like Flickbee you're mentioning contributed to education and leadership training, especially in comparatively with academia
Yes.
and the corporate world?
Yes. So the contributions of such technology is that people really enjoy learning. They first play the simulation game alone. It takes 3-5 hours, so it's basically a day or a week, depending. And then they're curious to try themselves, how it would be if I'm different. The analogy is like a pilot. You don't give a pilot a plane to crash it, himself or herself and others. The pilot actually exercises leadership first in a safe environment. Then the pilot feels cool, and she wants to make different experiments. Well, how does the plane develop? How does it behave in different turbulences? So this is the benefit is that it is much cheaper now to use experimental exercises, giving quick feedback with the digital technology than before. Before it wasn't possible. You had to go back into the company. Second, 25,000 people played this by now internationally, so we have a global benchmark. I'm comparing your data with those in your company. We can compare them with your nation. We can see what are the strengths and the skills of Kazakhstanis compared to Turkic nations or Hungarians and 25,000 other people around the world. By the way, the strongest skill of Kazakhs is quick decision making compared to other nations. And this is so true. Whenever I have an idea, people say, yeah, let's do this. But then it becomes, the next question is, what are the lowest skills? And amongst the lowest skill is information gathering. In other countries, there are different strengths and different skills.
And different weakness as well, right? So for the corporations, because I worked in a corporate world for a while. I do teaching for like last 2 years, and that is so interesting to learn about this adaptation of experimental learning. Can you please share more on that?
Experiential learning and corporate development, change management go hand in hand. Experiential learning was discovered or developed for pedagogists, but when it comes to organization intervention, it's the same. Therefore, it's super important at the beginning of a training to define for everybody what they really want to develop in themselves. Very often they come and they say, I want to have an interesting training. I ask them, what are you curious about? How the training will be? Well, that's not good enough. What is your individual agenda during the next 2 days or 6 months that the Flickbeat process goes? Second, input is a little bit of theory. So they need to understand the flow theory, the different leadership concepts, and then we can go into this virtual world of trying out. So the experiments only make sense when you have something you want to learn. The analogy is the Rubik Cube. If you don't want to learn the Rubik Cube, you will not learn the theory, you will not exercise it, and you will not understand how to do the Rubik Cube. So when I'm doing training, the analogy is exactly the same like with the Rubik Cube.
When you especially do change,
yes,
and like organize all these changes, that is really hard to make other people to believe in that this learning is needed for them.
Yes.
So what is your experience on that? That how you can make other people to want to learn?
Yes. Let's start really from the top when learning is very easy, and then we go deeper and deeper, and then there's a point we say we can't have a solution for that problem. The easiest one, if somebody who is successful and enjoys the work, it's like marathon runners, they always want to run a little bit better, right? The Iron Man, they want to be even more iron. So learning on the top of this ecological pyramid of learning is very easy. It's instinctive. This is called the flow. The second one is a little bit in the middle, and this is for universities or business or companies very important, is to have the culture of constant leadership development. So institutions should not have one project. They should have a budget of 1% of the turnover every year, some type of learning. So then it becomes natural that certain skills need to be invested and you learn, and maybe it will not be used. And each time. So therefore, for universities to have it in the budget, for companies to have it in the budget, it should not be the CEO who decides whether we should have it. It's nothing to be discussed. It's in the constitution of the company to have it. And then learning is sort of a routine, even for those who don't like it. At the lowest level of this pyramid is what we would call in psychology apathy. These people have given up inner hope. They think they cannot learn anymore, and it makes no sense. For them, Csikszentmihalyi himself told me very often, unfortunately, you can't do after a while as a leader anymore, because this apathy is as poison. It actually kills the person and the environment around them. They don't want to do it. But as a leader, you have the responsibility to explain them the flow theory, to tell them that this is why you need skills to get out of this unproductive zone. It's better for you also to feel more motivated, not with more money, but with new opportunities you get from the skills. And if these people can't stay and don't develop, then probably this environment is not good for them as well either. They will waste their life staying in apathy in this organization.
So
The
you
problem
think-
here in Kazakhstan is many people are on the top of the organization and they say, oh, this is difficult to manage this person. Get me a new person out. And this goes here a little bit too fast, I think. A little bit too few investments by the management into developing the people who are around. Instead of this, they say, hire somebody new.
So you're saying that genius can come from anywhere. You can develop and open their potential. You should see the potential of people and
Yes.
Discover them
Yes.
instead of changing
Yes,
them.
that's
So-
that's very important. That's what I train with a simulation game. You have a situation of 7 different people, and somebody always thinks this person I cannot do anything with. But then you will not win the simulation game.
What do you think about matching thing? Because one of leaders I've met, he was a chairman of the organization, but currently he has changed his job. But he was saying that there is always kind of a match thing in between of employee and the manager,
Yes.
director, etc. Sometimes this is so personal that this person is such a great. I mean, he
Yes.
has good skills, but manager says I don't like him.
That's not good enough. This person doesn't get the money because he works only with the people whom the match has. This person gets the money to be a leader of everybody. And this is what we designed with Csikszentmihalyi. You must manage every character, every personality ideally, because every personality type has business contributions. Every person deserves to have a leader who puts this person, the employee, into the flow zone. That's why the leaders get the additional money. Not
Yes.
because they are so fancy. They should show it in the organizational setting.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that this is not always good, changing people, and they have to learn and train working with
Exactly.
with their own
Yes.
people. And I don't believe that we have bad people or good people. I believe in that we can discover good thing in any person. So, do you think that current modern leadership should be not only flexible but also innovative? Not only in managing,
Yes.
but also in kind of psychology,
I-
emotional intelligence,
Yes.
and so on.
So there's a portfolio of how you can be innovative. Technology, human relations, power play, whatever. The essence of what you said is super important. Flow promoting leadership or flow leadership means that you as a leader find the joy in trying out different tools yourself.
What role will technology such as AI and gamification play in the future of teaching leadership or learning leadership?
Yes.
Yes. Would you?
So
please-
there are two sides of this technological question. The gamification part, the simulation part, will provide more data for the person who uses it about herself. To find out what are my skills, what did I do. It gives also opportunities to try out by exercising and experimenting, okay? And the artificial intelligence will be able to give a faster structure. Instead of having to read in the articles, you would be able to say, I'm having an employee she's been here for 5 years already in marketing, and more and more data you tell the system, what should I do with this person? He will say, the system will tell you a few ideas. So you get faster ideas, like a dialogue about the thoughts.
So, do you believe that AI can replace some of leadership features? Because you see,
Yes. Yes, I imagine that people in the future will sit down and they will ask, I have a very difficult call with some person and I have to tell her that she was in apathy now for so many years and I did this and this, and I have to tell her that we are going to terminate the contract in half a year if there is no change. Please help me. And I think AI will be able to give good coaching and ideas of structure, and then the person will say, whew, now I feel much better to make this conversation in a humane and professional way.
Yeah, so leaders would not need psychologists or therapists in order to discover.
Yes, maybe
yeah.
this I think they will need. I hope they will need a human helper, but I think AI will be able to give them guidelines, first steps, quick things, and it will be easier than to search now on Google Docs or on Google PDF. What are the words? Yes.
Do you see that leadership evolving in the next decade, like particular in corporate sector?
What the trend is that young people feel so fast bored, and the leadership gets better and better, and the young people are not capable for good leadership to be receptive.
Quick thinking,
quick projects. So people are actually getting better in the quality of leadership is improving for your generation, my generation, older generation also. But the younger generations, I think they will have a leadership challenge because they themselves find it very difficult to stay on longer with a project. They want to have immediate feed, instantaneousness. And leadership cannot be instantaneous. I mean, implementing a project or a new idea takes years, 2 years, 3 years to develop an identity. They want to have immediate success of their Facebook or Instagram channel, right?
Yes,
so
true.
If I have an idea, I want to have immediate reactions by all the customers that our business plan was great. No, it's not like that.
Yes, that's true. You know, this is all about, like they say, like clip thinking, like very fast. Instagram. Right now, they say that this video in Instagram, they should be not more than 14 or 15 seconds.
Yes.
And if it's longer, people don't watch it. And I really believe that someone will watch our podcast, which is like 30 minutes. But I mean, this is real challenge for academicians, for leaderships, I mean, for the management of corporate sector. So how we would keep that focus on this kind of real success, because this is not all about like short-term success. When we are successful in something, we need dedication and consistency, right?
I face the same challenge. I also teach master students who are 23, 22 years old. I make my sessions shorter. I give shorter answers to you now than I usually do. And I explain them this idea that other activities you enjoy, and then they come up, I like playing sports. So the analogy of doing activities which they know and then say that learning is the same in academia or in business projects, that helps.
Okay. As a professor, you're also giving short answers and so on. You want to expand more, but you see that this young generation cannot perceive all this information and digest it, you know, right?
But what is beautiful is when they come back and they want to hear more.
That's great. Please tell us what is the most valuable leadership lesson you've learned and you apply it both in education and personal life.
The most valuable leadership lesson for me is that when you want to find your life colorful, meaningful, it cannot happen with passivity. If I am just sitting in my office and I have all the research awards or teaching awards, that's it. But going for the next challenge, that is when I can be alive. Okay, so to know about my abilities and try to find situations when I can apply my skills. This is the essence. This is the sentence of finding the flow. This is the sentence to be in the zone. This is the hard work brings fruits.
So you are saying that people should be proactive.
Yes, you should. I find it beautiful for myself to find meaning in my life. If I can bring knowledge and developmental situations to others, that's great. I'm very thankful for this. To my parents, to my abilities, my own hard work, the situations, the partners, and life.
Very nice and beautifully said. Japanese, they say that it's ikigai. And do you have some kind of similar words in Hungarian language? Some kind of that is about like meaning of life? And
yes. So ikigai is not a theory, it's just a fantasy. It's very close to some medieval Spanish religious, non-religious thing. So that's not science. But Csikszentmihalyi is flow theory, that is hardcore science. So that has been introduced, that exists. You will find departments and publications about flow, not about ikigai. You find those in horoscopes and very unusual shamanism. Just to
so you don't believe in horoscope?
I don't believe in horoscope. It is not reliable. It cannot predict me. Only when things go well, then I say, oh, you see, it was in the horoscope. But flow is something which is measurable, which can be predicted. So what I wish for everybody is may the flow be with you. But in Kazakh, it's areket bar zsede bereket bar.
Bereket bar.
A flow legyen veled. Köszönöm szépen. Köp rahmet.
Өте керемет, көп рахмет. And for closing our great podcast, I would like to ask not only about your horoscope, by the way, which month you've born.
I'm Gemini.
Gemini, so it's like very interesting. We have to learn about your horoscope and then do our
Analysis.
analysis. I love reading. I'm a book lover, and I always read. And really love discovering new publications and books and research. So could you please recommend any book,
Yes.
maybe several books, and also maybe tool or resource for education and for the development to grow?
Yes. Of course, for me, as director of the Leadership and Flow Global Research Network, the most important book for everybody to read is amongst the top 10 international business books. It's Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Okay? It's translated in almost all languages of the world. The second most important is also by him. He wrote that 20 years ago. It's called Good Business. Okay? So that's the second most important book I would recommend.
And third important book, maybe you have any kind of interesting...
I'm in Department of Decision-Making Science, so thinking fast and slow, decision science, that is Kahneman. That's what I would recommend as third one.
I agree with you. I have two books. You've mentioned three books. I have two of them. This is Think Fast and Slow and Flow. I really have a hope that we will have your the mentioned books in Kazakh language very soon. And in our next podcast, I hope that we will discuss it. I mean, the translation and so on.
And here I have a little gift for you. It is a little wave. It represents the flow. And it says flow, Fligbi Buzadi on it. So may the flow be with you.
Thank you. Көп рахмет сізге. Сізге көп рахмет. Біздің подкастымыздың қонағы болдыңыз. Уақытыңызды бөлдіңіз. Сізге ақ жол тілеймін. Келесі кездескенше сау болыңыз.
Келесі видеода көріскенше.